quick and copy this out. All right. Good. There we go. All right, so we're back here. I just needed a shout out to the team, and let me crank up the light a little bit on my face. Working on my lighting here, the mobile lighting. Looks like we got a little bit of green screen action over there, but nothing too dramatic. That is... Oh, that's the shark tail. I thought that was something else. So, alright, so what we have in front of us here is the Oasis Live title scene that I was showing you earlier. And I was charging in a multi-dongle port, and I was having a hard time keeping up with the current. Even right now, it's not charging. I'm drawing more current than I'm actually charging it on. It's about staying the same. It's so one of those things is probably affecting why this was underperforming earlier. So we'll try to get through that. Hopefully, if we move on with a different scene, it won't be as heavy. There's just a lot of stuff going on here. So I want to play this real quick and just show you how this loads up. This is one of the challenging scenes, and it's going to be hard to crunch down a lot of the performance. Probably have to replace some of the elements here, but I do like although it doesn't really look good on the screen, in my opinion, when you play it on a phone, this background and the clouds actually look really good. Just the way the shaders handle on a mobile device. So we'll go ahead and just pause my Spotify once more, and you should be able to hear this. So we just have some inspirational adventure style music here, and a few elements I have is I have a hot air balloon, got some fireworks going off, which this is the Magic Castle for Disney. We're going to replace this, like I said before, but I'll probably use these same elements here. And we have a shark moving around, and we have the trade merchant boat, which I haven't really talked much about, but these boats travel across the map and allow for you to trade certain stuff as you go, and you can interact with a bunch of other things. So that's essentially the title screen. So since I have this running now, we're gonna do a test. By the way, I brought down the memory utilization probably about 30 megabytes. So not the greatest, but it's enough to where it's going to load on a mobile phone. We need at least 2 gigs, but realistically should be loading something like this for a few hundred megabytes. So we still have a lot of work to go. And we can probably improve that by cutting down the amount of planes, the water we're using here, and same with the skybox, which is something I will probably do down the road, but not worry about this second stuff like I said I was going to do before here. I added a really cool element into the first level, which I'm going to be using for all the levels. It's little mini maps. So when you guys check this out, let's figure out cool ways to integrate it into the demo itself. And I'll show you how I built in the ad placement, so that after you play a level, you see an ad, and I'm going to put up a screen saying, hey, why are there ads here, and explaining why we're putting ads in this. With an option to opt out of the ads for a few dollars for the demo. And, it is kind of like nobody likes these, but they know that when you're building this stuff out, that it's going to cost some money and that you have to try to make money. So it's exactly what we're doing here. Well, it's interesting how it's not keying out my bottle. Keys it out when I put it up here, but it doesn't key it out in front of me. It's interesting, huh? So, I've now opened up our title beginning scene here, and there's a few things I wanted to fix here, but I'll just walk through all this stuff first, and just show you a basic rundown of what's going on here. So this is just a very simple scene. It's using a FSM, or functioning state machine, to go through these different logo sequences, and then in each of these states I have different stuff happening, like it's activating and fading them in and out with each other, and the camera face is kind of cover up the loading the different elements, and camera fade in, camera fade out, and at that point it loads the level. Okay, so we want the camera to fade out after it shows the maiden fort point, and then really what I want to do is I just want this load level to actually be up here. I think it will work fine if I have this run first, so this might actually just be redundant here. So load level, and then we'll just label that the load level, and then we will ditch this state here, and because that's the finishing one, we don't necessarily need that. Okay, so that okay, I see what's here. Let's see what's going on here. So it does want a finished state to know when it's gonna go bump on the next. So we can just say this is I'll just call this end. I don't usually use this way, but the thing about these FSMs are just like code. You can set them up all these different ways based off of how you want to try to make them logical, and so a lot of this, you know, is me just fooling around figuring out what makes sense here. But that looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and just play this and see what that does. And I'll save it out too. And I didn't clear the cache, which I meant to do. You want to clear the cache when you are kind of loading in new stuff. The cache does sometimes screw stuff up, I find. I don't necessarily know what it screws up, and I probably should know what it's affecting, but essentially if your game crashes, the levels will still save, but the cache will affect what gets propagated, and it'll screw stuff up. So I like to clear it every once in a while, and you know, I don't necessarily think the GI cache affects anything other than the lighting, which just means it's a rebake. Global illumination, I think, is GI, unless it says it somewhere else. But that just is a rendering thing that you have, just like you have light caustics and global ambient occlusion, and global illumination actually uses planes to propagate light. Ambient occlusion uses the mesh and shadows to propagate 3D, and I use those both in rendering out this game here. So anyways, let's go ahead and just play this and see if it fixes the load. I want it to fade out and also load at the same time, and I don't want it to freeze before it fades out there. So it should start from black and open up to the DigiFX logo, and I'll probably also add in some other company logos at some point. Okay, we got that loads. Maiden fort point loads, and see, that's what I didn't want. It just kind of jumps into the loading title scene you can see up here, which is the preloader scene we used for the asynchronous loading. But that did load pretty fast, and I know that's a computer, so that's silly. So we click on that, and that's going to go ahead and load up our main title demo here. And the main title demo is going to have a lot of the links out to the other stuff we built in, like the quick start guide, the marketplace, credits, and all the stuff that we legally have to put in here when we start sharing it with people to protect our licensing and our investment. But be a little loud for everybody. So you can hear it's a different audio, more of a mission adventure set of audio. So they're two different kind of feels, really. We'll have to figure out how to work those in. Maybe again the title will be in the end. We'll just focus on this one. But all I really have here is I stripped out a lot of stuff that I had just to simplify the mission here. And so this play demo button, which is disabled, actually has credits, and then every time you play it's going to cost credits, and you can earn more in coins to play it, and also visit the marketplace, which is also disabled now. Sorry, I feel like I'm screaming all over myself right here, and it's because the audio, where's that audio coming from? I don't know how to turn it down to the point where it, yeah, I know that's loud. It's okay. I think that's better. I just can't really hear myself in the headphones. So, if you can hear that and you can hear me, we're good. So what I was saying is that the marketplace will be enabled, and I will build in a purpose for that throughout the demo, and I can show you how the ads make place. And then the legal and the credits are obviously just the protecting our interest in what we're producing and where we're getting the assets from, so that we don't get sued by anybody. So if I click on play, it's going to load this module here, and that will open up our very first level here. And yeah, the audio cutting out there kind of sucks. Maybe I want it to fade away. We can do something where it fades away while it loads. And usually I think these load pretty fast compared to the title one. The title scene seems to... So we do a little zoom in there. I change that around, and then I made it so that this scene pops up after it zooms in. This needs to be fixed. These are this is more of a quest leveling to do list here that will propagate. And the coolest thing I just added into the demo here is this mini map. That's awesome, right? All right, so the mini map itself is referencing all different kinds of stuff on the map. And what I've done here is I've added icons to each individual thing of interest, and then I've toggled on the visibility based off of the camera that's rendering it. So, in other words, this mini map level, which you can see the dots moving around there, is a camera looking down on the scene, but it's disabling all the stuff that the camera in our regular view sees, so that we can have different textures doing different things. And so for now, I just have this big ugly button right here just so we can play around with it. In the future, we will build it into the GUI along with a lot of the other stuff here. So if we look at our map, we really can help people take the levels down, and obviously there needs to be some fixes here, like the for instance, some of this stuff isn't exactly in the right place, but it's not a big deal. We'll fix those icons, like these exclamations are quests, and if you go back to the title, the quest scene that pops up like we had, these quests will be in there as things you have to accomplish, and then the mini map is the counterpart that shows you where to get that stuff. So maybe in somewhere in here we'll connect those two windows with each other so you can go back and forth. But essentially the goal is to use these as references to figure out where you are, where you need to go, what you need to get to move on. And there's going to be a rites of passage in all of these levels. So I realize now that you could just walk straight over there. And so we are going to turn on some hostile NPCs you have to interact with, but I'm also going to make it so that this is a long brush that you can't pass, and you have to craft a flame item to burn it down to get through. And so maybe we'll like light that fire. And so that's going to be one of the quests. And if you go back to the map here, another quest is going to be finding a map piece. If that one it is. This one is probably going to be the long brush. This one is me to welcome to Oasis. It's going to be collecting certain things. And then this last one's going to be like a treasure chest and the reward. And I'll show you kind of and also you notice there's portals in here now. So the one thing I haven't added into the demo yet, which is going to go in, is when you enter every level, you're going to place a portal in the ground and use the portal system we built in turn with all these levels. And that itself, using a different shader, and again, we can collect these things. But right now, all I have for the portal is I have this torch right here, and when you approach it, it will open a little rift, and then in a few minutes, or a few seconds, I should say, a automatic loading screen pops up. And, or actually, no, I forget. I've enabled the ads to pop up instead of the loading machine. So that's something we will fix right now. I'll show you that. But essentially, this is our ad portal here, and now that the ad portal has shown an ad, we'll get some money for that hopefully, and then opens up the next level, and then that's essentially what the leveling system is going to be like. So before I go fix that other stuff, I'll just go through these levels for you. This is our underwater deep sea level that you'll need a helmet, and then here you can see is the loading level screen that will enable before the ads. And that's essentially the ad info screen that we're going to have. And this one is the shark attack. When you're down here, you're going to be attacked by a shark when you collect a certain amount of stuff in a quest, and then the shark attack is going to be where you fight off the shark and you have to get something from the shark to move on. So this GUI is really old, and then also I have the success already built on because I don't want to actually have to kill the shark to move on in the demo. So that just basically again propagates another level, and all these levels will have the ads that get interacted, which I'm building in right now as we speak. Here we have the Sky Island level here, and I'm just zooming into the top level, and I do want to show something unique about this our system here that I think is really cool that people are going to enjoy. So we're going to have multiple places. You notice that you can move around, and this is now we're in the lower level in the system, but you can move around from different islands, just propagating the different player systems. So this is how we're going to use our portal system. We're going to have duplicate characters, and then when we walk through a portal within a level, it's going to propagate them on the next level instead of having, so essentially it's just toggling different ones on and off, but it also, the camera navigates or moves to that location, so it has a really cool effect. And so as you can see, I walked into the portal, which is loading the ad info page, which is going to be propagated soon, and then now we're going to load the next level here. So I'll go through these levels real quick. You'll get a feel for the flow of the demo and how it's going to work, and then I'll go back and I'll show you what I need to do to fix the ad placement. So here we have our Winter Valley demo. And we all know that this one is the one with the abominable snowman, who's somewhere around here. I don't know exactly where he is. Not everything is placed. I'm going to need another week to get this releasable, but I do plan on having it deployed on everybody's phone in the beginning of November, hopefully. Or I should say anybody who's interested in downloading this. And I hope to make some money off ads with that in the upcoming month. All right, so lastly, we approach this gateway portal here. There's some redundancy in the system you're seeing here. It's just loading, preloading, using async loading to make sure we can load the different assets without them crashing. Here's our Dino Jurassic heat level. And you see we have a T-Rex back there moving around, pretty cool, along with some other dinosaurs. Which aren't necessarily placed. Everything was kind of pasted in here, so that will be something I have to fix. But I do know that the portal is right here, so I'll go up to it. And we get a little rift that opens up. And I do have to texture the rift better with something that looks more like a portal. Right now it's just transparent in there. But we do have some animation in the rift that opens up, which can be fixed easily. Okay, so now we're on the final boss level. This is for the relic, and this is after you've found all 3 map pieces and you've crafted, if you've found the right tools you need in this level. I don't necessarily know what the other things you're gonna have to collect are in the other levels. I know in the first one you need a helmet, diving helmet, which I'll show you. So this one we're just gonna have to dodge the booby traps, and this level will be built out as we go. And then lastly, you'll have to fight off this boss right here, and for right now you can just triple click on him and you get some stuff. By killing him, you lower the back here, and then we have our relic. And I've made this loop, so it's gonna automatically bring you back to the beginning, and I didn't even get to pick up the relic there, so that's obviously something that we'll have to enable basically this button system I have here isn't set up. It just automatically jumps to the next state, and assuming that you want to go, and it doesn't give you it doesn't do a confirmation. But there you have it. So now we're back at the beginning level there, and so that's essentially the loop for the demo I'm going to create for people to engage the Oasis experience, and then we'll build in the marketplace aspects as we go and release this. And on top of that, we'll build in the geolocation mapping system into this, into a separate build, because this is the trial. But we're going to use this to get the stuff off the ground. So let's go ahead and just stop this real quick, and I'll show you how we're going to fix the ad that gets generated there, and then I'll show you kind of what it looks like on my phone, so you can get a feel for that and see what it's like. You can see my phone, right? Oh, it's keying out the back though. That's pretty interesting. So, it's because my background is green. I will play this for you while we load this up. So you can see it is going to load pretty slow here. This title screen does need to be optimized, and I think it's around 8-9 seconds. And so it should be 2 or 3 max. So I'm hoping this new build of what we're doing here will improve the speed of that, and we'll be able to... Okay, so here I forgot we are using the ad manager here. Okay, so we got to think about what is launching us in the next level. In the scene objects, I have a portal next level prefab that I've created, and it's this little area right here, and we will add different elements to it. I mean, it turns on the portal and a bunch of other stuff in there. I'm not going to get too much into it. And as you can see, our title screen is loading here. I'll give some audio. Oops, I accidentally clicked it. So you can't see the title scene, but I'll show you. I want to show you the ads, how the ads look on this, because I think that's pretty cool. So here, again, pretty simple layout for now, just to get us started. I might move stuff around too. This loads relatively quicker than the title, but again, it will also be optimized. And you can see it's keying out the background, which is really interesting. And so I'll just go in here. I got to update some of this information in here. Okay, and then so you're going to see some funky stuff going on with the green screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get... Oh, I have to... I forget to do it this way. Okay, so we'll walk over here. And you see that dragonfly flying around. It's pretty awesome. So right now the relics or the raptors are still passive, even though I have them marked as hostile, and that's because I haven't enabled their system yet. See, I'm going to do that last. Okay, so I'm going to show you the ad stuff here now. So there you go. And so what it does a little spin loop there, and then you see an ad, and then you can skip it, and then you have the option to download it. We hope that they don't download it, and then it brings us to our next level there. So that is the flow of the app system itself, and I'm going to do that one more time just so I can see the if it's smoother on the phone than it is on the computer, because on the computer it loads differently the way than the phone does. So just because it loads one way in the simulation here doesn't necessarily mean that's how it's going to affect the phone with timing, and also just like in the transitions and stuff like that. So, but if you see here in this FSM, I have all this stuff kind of happening here. So we can go ahead and bring this out a little bit so we can see everything, and I'll zoom out. And so this is just an in and out sequence. So when it goes in it turns on some elements. It turns on the ad manager, which immediately propagates the ad. So what I wanted to do yeah, as I wanted to keep, this is what I think I may want to do, but I'm going to see how it looks this way. I turn this off just so I can try to propagate the level through the ad manager instead. And I guess I'm still going to do it through the ad, but what I want to do is I want to fade out first, and I don't know if it fades out here. So we don't have a fade. Yeah, okay, so I think the key thing here is if I just add a fade. I want to know, let's see here. So if I go force next event, so it's waiting 5 seconds. And the turn on is, yeah, so the turn on is the gear. And so it should wait. So let's just go ahead and play this and see how it works over here too. So I'm just kind of testing it while you guys, I stream just to show you what it's like in real time, testing it. I do want to see how it loads on the phone here. Specifically the ad, the ad experience of how you feed somebody an ad, it has to be one of those things where they're pleased already so that when you throw an ad at them, they're like, they accept it and it doesn't, you know, they're willing to watch it because they're already been entertained a little bit. Okay, so again, I'm just going to go look at this one real quick. So the Rift opens. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it does do a pretty good job of showing the gear, and then it just goes. The question is, where's it showing the gear from on here? Oh, I know why. And I'll just show you because I want to explain it to you so whoever watches this understands too why. So it's actually loading. So in this, this is what I have to make. You have to make separate scripts for everything, every different level, for different ad level. And the reason we do that is so we can separate where it loads next there. So this one is loading scene 10. And if I go to my build settings, which is right here, 10 is a loading scene. It's not a live scene. So what you actually see in this is you see a loading scene, which is the frame immediately load, and then it shows the ad right after while it goes to the deep sea. So it's kind of loading the ad on top of the next level, which is good because I don't know if that's necessarily how you want to do it. I kind of want the ad to go away before it loads the level, but then that means you have to put a timer. You don't know how long they're going to watch the ad for, so it's tough. I kind of almost want to make it hold off, but for now it's loading pretty swiftly and it loads the level. There's no loading time between the ad and the next level, which is good. So if we just play this over here, we'll see what it looks like here, and make it bigger, and we'll just go ahead and walk over here. Where are you stuck, bud? It's weird he's getting stuck lately. I don't understand that. Is he on the wrong side of the wall? What's going on here? Try that again. It's not doing that in the app. Okay, so if I go Sully, where's Sully at? There's your little buddy. I don't know why you would be doing that, but I'll just bring him up a little bit more so he falls on top of the plane. Hopefully he won't be affected as much. So it looks like my computer is actually charging a little bit more. It was having a little bit of a panic attack when it was at 2% doing all this stuff it was doing earlier, which I don't blame it. Now it's at 10%. Okay, so now he should have no problem. He has no problem. Okay, so we'll just go follow Mr. Sully over to where he needs to go right here and see what happens. All right. Okay, so let's watch carefully how it loads it. You look up there to see the loading, and then you look at the screen to see how it reacts. Yeah, so you see it kind of loads, and then the level loads, but then the ad's still up. So if I close that, yeah, so that's the best bet, is that they just close it after they see it, and then we get some money for that. So I think that's cool. I don't know why this is so weird. You see how it just did that? There's like this invisible phantom in this level that just blows. I think it must be a collider on one of these NPCs here that runs into them. Now I think about it, but there's always this phantom. I kind of want to leave it. It's almost like there's this unholy, unnatural force pushing him along. And yeah, see, there he is. I don't know what's doing that. It's not that crab, is it? It's not that rock. Okay, so we will see the rift. You can't see it, but if I texture it differently, it's going to look a lot better. And also, we're going to have to fix this. But I think what I'm going to focus on is we have to duplicate the ad structure here. And before I duplicated it, I want to make sure it was working good on the first level, which is why I held off here of putting it in the others. And so if I just go back here and I'll pull out the playmaker just so we can see it a little bit better. And let me get a full view. So it turns on this, right? And then that turns that stuff on. Let me just see if that changes anything in the canvas, because I might be actually forgetting to turn on the canvas stuff. And I'll also just copy and paste this portal into a new level, and I'll just have to re-enable a new script. But okay, so yeah, so clearly that is only affecting the location object when I turn that on. And we're not seeing the gear like we are in the other ones. So I may have to also turn the gear on first. Oh, I know what I want to do. I want to actually create the why am I seeing an ad page. Okay, so you see that's already on. So we want that to, so that's why that was, I just had to double check there. We want to make sure that this is off, because that is a way of playing the animation of the portal appearing. And although it doesn't look that good now, it's just a placeholder for me to know that anything under this level of game objects will appear when I propagate it using Playmaker there. That's another reason why I don't like unlocking it, because it always gets hidden behind it. So, like that. So we know it turns on. We know it waits 5 seconds. And that's the switch. When it enters, it activates the switch there. So then after that, it's going to immediately turn our ad manager, which is what loads the level there. So I definitely think that this should be over here. I don't think this is necessary anymore because we're loading it through the object script. The next frame of events are not necessarily, those just ignore the time and just immediately go to the next event. So we don't want those. We actually want to time this stuff out differently here. So I think this is fine. And then in here I can go ahead and add, copy this, and then I'll just paste that in here. Before or after, I don't think it really matters. And then the only thing I want to turn on here is I want to turn on the canvas element that we created for this. So in the game elements, I added a new one, and it's the exit window. It's that one, right? And I think it should be called something else. So here's the thing that I'm need to think out, and I'm kind of thinking out loud as I'm streaming here. There's a level of like transparency in what you're about to send somebody, but also a level of creating it slick if you passing them along to an ad. So I'm not 100% sure if I want to tell them, hey, are you completing the level? Are you done with the level? And then just send to an ad, not really forewarn somebody, or be like, hey, we're about to show you an ad, and then tell them why we're showing them an ad, kind of thing. And so that's something we have to think about in terms of how we present this flow of gameplay here. And so I think for now I'm going to stick to the, are you ready to leave the level? And I won't worry about explaining why we're doing ads. I think we'll figure that out down the road, because we haven't built in the ad-free one anyway. So having that in there would be kind of silly for me to propagate. Okay, so with that being said, that means that this system's going to be a little bit different. It means that this button's going to activate the script, and we're going to disable the script from where it was. So it's a little bit of work, and I'm going to have to redo this in the other levels. But the beauty is I paste them in there, and I save out the scripts versus the setup. It's as simple as just updating the script itself, and not worrying about it in other places. So what I usually do for this just is I'll copy, paste, and I'm just cheating the way of like duplicating it, right? And then we'll go in there and rename it, and I'll do this all. It seems to be faster outside of here, and I have a list of the builds in front of me. You can't see them, but I can see them, so I can just quickly reference the order which they're going in. Okay, so this is going to be deep C and .cs, and then of course I need to copy that, and I need to open it up, and I got to change the class name to it to match that so I can reference it. And then I'll change this scene to loading our shark attack, which is 12, and this is going to be dividends at 2 for the most part, assuming they're in order. And then so when you finish the go through the portal in the next one, you'll use this script instead, and it will load the following scene. You can see the chain of events we have going on here. So although I am still in the Palm scene, I'm not necessarily doing any work in the Palm scene right now. I'm just creating extra scripts that I'm going to reference as we move on. So I can save this out, and I'll quickly go through the list here, and I'll try to do this fast. And you can use any single one of these, really. Just have to know what you're naming it, and then copy that. So this is going to be shark attack. And the goal is to get somebody who plays the demo, 5 or 6 of these, and that will equal a few dollars per person if it becomes popular. And at that point, we can make some money off of this. And that's really what I would like to happen and what I'm aiming for in the upcoming weeks here. So this is going to be 14. That's going to be that, and I'll just go ahead and reference what 14 is. 14 is loading Sky Island. That looks correct. That comes after here. Okay, so then go here and change this to Sky Island. All right, copy that, open that, and that there, and that's going to be 16, and 16 is loading Winter Valley. That's correct. Okay. So it's going to be in Winter Valley. I'm just talking out loud so I don't forget myself. I know you guys probably don't need to do that. Open the Sublime. Update the class. This is going to be 18. 18 is Jurassic Heat. Save that out. Close that out. Alright, we got 2 more copies it looks like. So okay, so this is going to be Jurassic Heat. Open with Sublime. I'm just doing it the fastest way I know how to generate this. I know this is probably pretty basic stuff, but it's definitely it's a way for me just to propagate these out quickly. Okay, so that's saved, and let me just go ahead and open up, let this propagate again, and we can see if there's any more extra. I think there's one extra one. So you can see now we have these extra ads here. Good, it looks like I made just the right amount. And this really should be called Palm Beach if I'm being efficient about naming stuff. It just says Palm. But I won't worry about that this second. But if I, it's me just being over analyzing this here. Okay, so that's loaded. And I do also need to build in the portal, but I'm not going to do that in the first build. I'm going to actually build it into the version second build or second variation. The first build is going to be a sequence of this with the ads in it and the quests and stuff. And then I'll add the portal in as I figure out how to work it in there in the upcoming weeks. And all right, so Sky Island, everything looks correctly. There's no errors essentially with that, right? And so we should be good there. And you can see that our exit is toggled on. So we want to make sure that's off still. And we need to go back into scenes, right, where our thing is here. And we need to pull up our playmaker here. And here is where we want to turn on our exit. That's why I was in there. Oops. Yeah, I mean, there's a million reasons why you should keep it snapped. And I'm showing you kind of why not snapping your playmaker makes life hard sometimes. So I'll even snap it up here sometimes. And just you want it snapped. So now I can just not worry about that there. And then I can drag that in there. Okay, so we have a turn on. I waste 5 seconds. The exit will pop up. And then this actually won't do anything. It's just going to go back there. And then we're going to copy this, right? And then on the exit, we're going to make sure the exit button is set up correctly too. But if I can find where that button is, the agree button right here, I can tell you that yeah, I think I can just use the regular Unity system. Sometimes you have to use a special system if it's working with the internet. So that should just work if I click that. All right, and so that's our ad manager that just needs to be turned on. And let's go ahead and save it out and see if that works. So again, what we did there was we just turned off the automatic load and enabled the agree button in the level loading system there, the exit system, which is in game canvas. The main canvas is the active canvas you see throughout the game. The game canvas is all the extra canvases that are going to propagate throughout the stuff, like our loading, which we can use, or again, for instance, our exit, which is just like the loading but it has extra text, our info that pops up. And so that's how our marketplace, which is kind of built on top of everything, and our mini map. And so you can get a feel for why I'm doing it that way. The settings needs to be fixed. That is just there as it obviously isn't placed. I almost won't even delete that, but I won't, just to remind me to keep it. Okay, so I think that I can turn the market back on now. And the NPC text will stay off, the exit stays off, the info propagates now, so that stays off. The quest comes on, and the loading is one of those things where I can have it. The loading is an interesting yeah, so I have the loading every time it starts. It destroys itself after 3 seconds. So I did this because in the beginning this is supposed to load the level, but because I want to have that zoom down effect into the island, I turned it off. And so this can now just be used as a 3-second loading filler that I usually use when I sign out. But in this case, we're just loading a new system and then adding the add on to it, and that transitions into it. So it's a little bit redundant, but this is still very useful. We can use this many places, and so that stays the same. And of course, our mini map is now toggled off and gets toggled on by the button. So let's go ahead and just play this real quick and see what it looks like. The reason why I can turn these on and they don't appear is that there's scripts that move them out of the way using our system to where they can use hotkeys or certain toggle switches to turn them on and off. And I'm using an arrangement of different stuff. I'm using some Unity stuff, some Playmaker, and then some inventory systems to work and flow together. And they all work pretty well together. Okay, so we got our level, moving on, walking over here. You know, if I wanted to make it super easy, I would just drop him over by where the portal is, so I could just play the game and then walk a couple steps. But this isn't that big of a level to where you have to redo this every time. Okay, so now we should see this wait a few seconds, and we have our loading screen, and it should stay there until I click this button, which I'm going to see if it goes anywhere. Okay, great. So it did what it needed to do. The only thing that I do not like there is that it just kind of goes. It doesn't fade out or do something. And to fade it out, you do have to use a Playmaker call when in reality, I'm using just the Unity GUI system there. And I'm not going to get into the differences in when I use one or the other, but the system of what I'm using to toggle this on is pretty simple, which is why I can get away with using it. And that is just using the screen that pops up, the exit screen here, this button right here. If I open it up again, And this is probably the hardest thing you have to get used to, is knowing when something's doing something there. So this is actually toggling the add window, but you don't see a playmaker call there, versus this as a playmaker call because I'm using the fade in feature. And there's other buttons I'll use, like there's some times where I'll use the playmaker GUI, the UGUI, that does just what this agree button does, which is also why I always put them in brackets of whether it's button text or whatever, just so you know what kind of thing it is. But here I'm just setting the object to active, so I'm really just toggling on this game object, and then what that does is it runs this script that is toggled on, and that script changes the level and does all this stuff. And then so if we ever want to change where it directs to, we just edit this, and then nothing gets affected in the game flow of the demo itself. And that's how I think I want to do it, and that's how I'm going to do it for the rest of these levels until we build in some of the more serious stuff. And I'll probably build this out now to the phone, see how it works, and then I'll go on and do all the rest of this stuff. But I do need some feedback on the map system here. And what I mean by that is, we'll play this real quick and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I don't know if it makes sense to have the mini map only be on a separate screen itself, to where it's totally blacks out the controls like you see here. So now when I click on the map, that's not what happens. That's just when I click on the map, there you are. And you could see yourself moving if you had the joystick, but I disabled the joystick and made this a map only view. I'm also thinking that it would be interesting to disable this, right? And then only, so I'll enable this real quick, but then what if I did, what if I got rid of all of the extra stuff here? So I'll get rid of all this, right? And then we can have two variances of this. So now you can see yourself in the mini map while you move around, which I think is also cool, right? That's really cool. And then if I do this, it'll probably mess it up, which it did. But that's the other option. And so the reason why I'm not doing that way is, I don't want to clutter the experience of the AR with a bunch of stuff like that. I want the tools, the compass and everything to be an add-on to the elements that are already there. So I like how I kind of had the map separate. And I also think that will allow me to integrate the info page into like a uniform kind of flow where you go back and forth between the different ones. But I'm gonna go ahead and leave leave it at that. And it's been almost like an hour I've been doing the stream for, so I'm gonna give the computer a little bit break to get back to it. But think about what I said, and we can figure out how we're gonna do this moving forward. But in terms of the demo, this is what I'm really thinking about, how we're gonna release it, and your guys' feedback will be good. So check you later.